everyone, it's me again, and for today's video, I am going to share to you my 10 reflections for the finals. The 6 topics here are from the Torrentera, and the 3 topics are from the Philippine History Sourcebook, and the 1 topic is from the supplemental material from Proof R.A. Dalagan. So in my reflection paper, I will be using 2 modes of reflection. First is the mirroring. So in mirroring, there are 4 preliminary questions to be answered. First is what is being discussed. Second, is there anything that you can see in yourself? Third, is it present or absent? And fourth, what do you feel and why? And the second mode of reflection that I will be using is the telescoping. Cite existing societal, it's either local, national, or international issues, and then connect that issues to the topic being discussed or read. How these issues affected you as a student, as a youth, and why or why not. Now, let's start. So the first topic is from the Torrentera, Minutes of the Proceeding on the National Territory of the 1971 Constitutional Convention. So the mode of reflection that I will be using in this topic is mirroring. So what is being discussed? So the topic being discussed was all about the minutes of the proceedings on the national territory of the 1971 Constitutional Convention, in which it was called to change the 1935 Constitution of the Philippines. The delegates were elected on November 10, 1970, and the convention itself was convened on June 1, 1971. So is there anything that you can see in yourself? I can see this in myself because it is significant for me as a Filipino citizen, as it is important for me to know all these things in order to be aware of the boundaries of our country. Is it present or absent? It is absent because this constitutional convention has undergone a series of evolutions, but it is present in the sense that it is still part of our Philippine history and continues to shape our society today. So what do you feel and why? As a student and as a citizen of this country, I am grateful for the opportunity to learn about my country's territory and the rights that I know are important to me as an individual. Our second topic was all about the role of Islam in the history of the Filipino people. So, the topic being discussed was all about the role of Islam in the history of the Filipino people, the spread of Islam that represented an interplay of political, economic, psychological, and social causes and factors together with their ideological concomitants. I can see this in myself because I am also a Muslim, and I can say that we have also a big contribution in our society. Our role is cultivating a culture of peace and solidarity among different religions. Is it present or absent? It is present because until today, the role of Islam in the society is continuing. Our contribution to the society is still developing and will continue to develop. So as a Muslim, I felt glad because over the years, Islam has been accepted and had given equality in all aspects of life. Our third topic is all about the history of terrorism in the Philippines. The topic being discussed was about the history of terrorism in the Philippines. I can see myself in this because as a Muslim, I always hear my fellow Muslims being called terrorists. Every time there was an act of terrorism, we Muslim were the number 1 suspect. We were immediately accused of a crime that we had not committed at all. It is present because terrorism is still a major social issue in the Philippines. It is still a grave challenge to security and the human rights of individuals. I felt sad because when talking about terrorism, we Muslims are always being accused when in fact, Islam does not promote terrorism. Islam is a religion of peace. Our fourth topic is all about the agreement on peace between the government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. The topic being discussed in this document was all about the agreement on peace between the government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. It was determined to establish a peaceful environment and a normal condition of life in the Bangsamoro homeland. This agreement seeks to continue the peace process by reaffirming the parties' commitment to previous agreements and subsequent negotiations. I can relate to this because, as a Muslim, I have always held the belief that for every person, no matter what the religion, peace is an important aspect that will hold them together. peace can prevent conflict and misunderstanding. That's how important this agreement is to me, as it gives us the chance to work together without any conflict. It is present because this agreement is still of great significance to all Filipino as it maintains peace in the country. As part of the Muslim community, I felt happy with this agreement as it aims to continue the peace process between the government and the Moros. For me, this agreement must be acknowledged for the fact that it has tried to find a solution to the conflict between Muslims and the government. Our fifth topic is all about the report of the cholera epidemic in the Philippines. In this topic, I will be using a telescoping as a mode of reflection. So the topic being discussed in this document was about the report of the cholera epidemic in the Philippines in the year 1902 to 1904. During that time, there were many casualties from fear of the disease itself. The topic being discussed can be connected to the COVID-19 pandemic that we are currently experiencing, wherein it was impacted different aspects of life just like the cholera epidemic before. So as a student and a youth, these issues affected me in many ways, especially with the crisis that we are currently experiencing. Social isolation is one of the challenges that I have faced, especially since the education system has also been affected. I am struggling to learn unlike before the pandemic. I am also experiencing disengagement with other people. Our sixth topic is all about Mintal, the Little Tokyo of the pre-war Philippines. So it was discussed in this document, the Little Tokyo of the pre-war Philippines, which is the Barangay Mintal. It was considered as the Davao City's Little Tokyo, where the Japanese have settled and built infrastructure that has contributed a lot to the contemporary life in Davao City. Mintal is an example of forgotten heritage in the Philippines. I can see myself in this because, for me, it serves as a new discovery and a new learning experience because of its cultural significance. It's like a treasure waiting to be found. It is present because Barangay Mintal became just like any other barangay but slightly more peaceful and greener than the bustling downtown. There are also new infrastructure and businesses being built that will surely attract more Japanese tourists. I felt amazed by what I had discovered upon reading the document. I felt like I just opened a new page of discovery. It was my first time knowing that Mintal was considered a little Tokyo of Davao City. It was an interesting topic for me and I was given the chance to learn more about it. Our next topic is all about Sergio Osmeña's State of Nation Address. It was discussed in this document, the State of Nation Address of former President Sergio Osmeña, wherein he addressed the members of Congress using the opportunity to narrate the Philippine Commonwealth's bitter fight against the war. He described the meeting as a moment of great historic importance because it was the first time the country's lawmakers convened after years of war. I can see myself in this, as President Osmeña is one of an inspiration to me, as he has done a greatest service for his people, which shows his efforts to maintain friendly and cooperative relations between the American and Filipino people under governments, which for me is good act as a president to have an attitude like this. It is present because former President Sergio Osmeña's excellency remains in the heart and mind of the Filipino people and the country. As a student, I felt inspired of President Osmeña's intelligence and his selfless attitude towards the people. He led the country in its initial stage of political maturation by his honest and selfless devotion to public service. Now, moving on to our next topic, the true Filipino ideology. So the topic being discussed was all about the true Filipino ideology, which emerges from our historical experience and national dream. In its two phases, the ideology presents itself, first, as political liberation, and second, as social and economic liberation. I can see myself in this because I always believe that the main purpose of this ideology is for the sake of all Filipino people, and the late President Marcos' main goal was to advocate for and build a better future for the future generations. It is present because it is still teaching us the imperative political liberation that is embedded in our experience as Filipinos and signifies the true Filipino ideology. As a youth, I felt inspired by the late President Marcos because I learned a lot from him. The discipline and the intelligence he left will all instilled in now. Our next topic is all about President Rodrigo R. Duterte's inaugural address. This document discusses President Rodrigo R. Duterte's inaugural address, in which he stated that the corruption at all levels of the government, criminality, and the rampant sale of illegal drugs affect all strata of Philippine society and result in the breakdown of law and order. He also said that the real problem that confronts the country is the erosion of faith and trust in the government and its leaders. He promised real changes, and he said that no leader can succeed at anything of national importance unless he has support and cooperation of the people. I can see myself in this, as it was eye-opening for me to see our country's problems, the issues about drugs and criminality, which I always observed before, give me an idea of what President Duterte was fighting for. And I was also amazed by what President Duterte said about the importance of support and cooperation to a leader, because I did experience that as well. I can say that it is not easy to be a leader if your members are not cooperative enough, which only leads to unsuccessful tasks. It is present in a way that all the promises he made in his inaugural address can be observed today. The issues about drugs have lessened, as have the criminalities and other illegal issues. I felt both proud and honored to have President Duterte as our President of the Philippines because, in my opinion, he is a good leader whose mission is to help his members. He inspired me to do what is right. He is a man of principle and assertiveness. And now, moving on to our last topic. This topic is from the supplemental material from our Prof. R.A. Dalagan. It is all about Davao during the 1896 to 1898 Philippine Revolution. So the topic being discussed were all about the revolution in other parts of Mindanao, the turmoil in Mati, Davao District, the upheaval in Baganga, Davao District, and local disturbances in Davao Poblacion. I don't see anything positive in myself as a result of this, because I believe that there is no good in rebellion. It only leads to evade and gain concessions from an oppressive power. It is a refusal of obedience to an order. It is present because nowadays, the presence of rebellious groups can still be seen in Mati City. I felt afraid and worried because I knew that these groups were dangerous and that they could attack anyone and cause problems in our society.